Hello there, everyone, and we are live. I am super excited for this, and I want to say welcome to Sustainability Talks. I am your host, Rita Hausken, and in this Sustainability Talks, this is the place where female business owners and women in masculine industries come together to learn how to bring their visions and unique perspectives into this world with ease and joy, and to create the life and legacy they most desire. And I'm sure you are one of them. What I want to share with you today is that today's event is actually, and I'm super proud to share in that, sponsored by Next Level Purpose Mastermind, which is officially rolling out today. We are now taking enrollments calls. So if you are curious about this unique mastermind that you have heard so much about as of late and you're hearing us talking about, click the link below. I'm going to share the link a bit later on and book your call with me so we can have a chat and see if this is something for you. That is something that we are checking in on to make sure that everyone in the group are in alignment with each other. So what I want to say now is that I am beyond excited to welcome today's guest. She is a strong, very strong visionary, super passionate. She is a woman that is driven by her purpose and who sees, and I think this is so amazing, she sees the word no as an acronym to new opportunities. She is a big leaper, and she's an esteemed member of Next Level Purpose Mastermind. She is an entrepreneur. She is a mom, she's a podcaster, she's a public speaker, and soon to be published author. And she's the founder of Agile Leadership. So welcome, Nada Ahmed.
Thank you. So happy to be here, Rita.
Oh, it's so exciting. And we're going to dive in on the topic today that is just so incredibly fascinating, because we talk about quantum leaps, we're talking about fast forwarding things, and you are, what I say, I use this word model of opportunities. So we very often say role models, but I really love the word model of opportunities, and that is what you represent to me. And we've been on a journey together for some time. So now when I introduced you from how I experience you, what can be in a text. But I am actually curious about who you really are. Who are you, Nada? And what is it that you are doing?
Yeah, I would love to share that. And what's cool about this question is that every time you try to answer it, I myself will learn something new. So I am, and this is something I discovered very recently. I've always known this, but someone who likes to test boundaries, who who likes to challenge the status quo, and would always kind of raise my hand to the next opportunity, say, yes, can I volunteer? Can I try this? I've always done that throughout my life. So sometimes even when I've had to make some of the toughest decisions and I'm sitting there, I would most likely go for the path that is maybe more risky, or the path not many people would take. And I think about myself like, wow, that was brave of me. But then in retrospect, I thinking about it now, it's just, that is who I am. I am someone who would always, who's curious enough to try to explore something that's different, that others haven't experienced before, that I haven't experienced before, and try to see how we can change the world in that way. And given that I do that, what I also then love to do is also help people see possibilities in front of them and be able to reframe and rethink things in a different way. So one of my purpose that I discovered through working with you has really been bringing people together and helping them see things and ideas from different perspectives, so that together we can create a society that's more inclusive and enlightened, and we can actually make some real change in the world. So it kind of, who I am also forms in some way the purpose that I have, that I want to make sure that I fulfill now in everything that I do.
Oh my word, that is just so powerful. And I remember, when we were sitting in Riga with the masterminders, and we were spending a couple of days deep diving into purpose and what is your zone of genius. What was the big kind of aha moment you experienced during that event?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of aha moments, but just realizing, how people see me, how the mastermind sees me, how I've shown up, and that is actually somebody that I aspire to be, that I want to be, and that's how people see me. So one of the things was as a thought leader, as somebody who's brave and who's bold, who wants to challenge the status quo, and that was kind of echoed to me from the others in the mastermind, and then also, working through this very structured process that you led us through to actually discover, what is our purpose, what are the things that we really value. And for me, I've always, where I really enjoy are bringing these people into the same room and helping them, guide through this journey where we can reframe and reshape our thinking and really be able to think bigger and be able to see how can we see things that we're not seeing, and kind of in some way reinvent reality, right? Because reality is really only what we create in our mind, because of the frames that we draw, because of all these assumptions that we have. So how can we get people to question some of these assumptions? And given that that is really what I love to do, then it makes complete sense that when I stumbled onto innovation and started working in corporate innovation, I really found my footing, and I really found like it was an area that really gave me a lot of joy, and I was able to bring a lot of value to people because it was coming from that place of zone of genius, where I was employing all these things that are so inherent in me that bring me so much joy.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love that. And one of the things that just showed up for me now is something that Bob Proctor says. Bob Proctor says, if you can see it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. And one of the things that I happen to know is true for you, Nada, is the belief in that you can manifest anything. Could you just take the listener in on a bit of that journey of yours, how you decided things and how they came to fruition for you from childhood to where you are?
Yeah, so I've always, been someone who's had great dreams, and wanted to strive for that better life and be ambitious, right? And it's something that was within me, as a kid, um, and something that I, sometimes reflect on is like how, as a kid I really wanted to go and study abroad, and so I was really focused on like, what are the things that are needed, what kind of activities do I need to uh, what I need to do, where the opportunity is going to come from, and kind of staying open to that and just applying, and I did get a lot of rejections and a lot of failures along the way. But then eventually, now today, the life that I'm living, living in Norway or living in the US, is really the life that I had created for myself as a child. Was to be someone who was independent, had a good career that paid for all my expenses, and was living a free woman, right? And no one telling me what I can do and cannot do. And then from that point on, after I actually had my first child, I realized, okay, I've been so ambitious. There's so many things that I want to achieve in my life. I love being a mom, but I kind of had to sit down and ask myself, like, but I'm not only defined by being a mom. I'm defined by so many other things, and I want to make sure that I continue to work on these things. And I felt like it kind of even pushed me further, having my first child, to even do more and create more impact, and continue on this journey on being a role model, not only for mothers, but people from minority backgrounds, to kind of show them that, you can achieve your dreams, you can live the life that you desire, and at the same time have that balance in your life to spend time with your family.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, and then yeah, I don't know if you had a question there.
Right. No, go ahead.
Yeah. And so I think that made me a little bit more impatient onto where I was in my career path. And I realized I needed to bring on a mentor. So I reached out to some people in my community that I knew. And I sent somebody a LinkedIn message, somebody who I had only seen on stage. She was the CEO of a company, and I was really inspired by her. And I said, would you want to meet up for coffee? And just we started this mentor dialogue. And together with her, I drew up this vision that, in 3 years, I want to be VP. I want to be leading a team. This is where I want to be. And before the 3 years were over, all that came true. I got to where I wanted to be because I started this journey and because I was very specific about what I wanted. And I didn't know how it was going to happen. I just knew that I wanted to be, and whether that title was VP or whatever, but I wanted to make sure that I was working with a team. I was in a place where we were creating new products and services that would create impact in the society today.
Hmm.
And so sort of throughout, if you look at throughout my, not only my childhood, but my career history, everything that I've always wanted, that I've manifested, it has happened. And so now, as I'm kind of reaching my mid-career, entering my late 30s, I'm asking myself, but Nada, are you thinking big enough? Are you just going for something that is maybe more comfortable? What about if you could stretch it and take that big leap? And that's kind of the journey I started, I think, over the past year, especially when I was in the mastermind, that really inspired me to do that. And really kind of, I call it the midlife awakening, is when I'm like, I know myself now. I know I can manifest big things in my life once I put my mind to it. So what are the biggest dreams now that I would like to come and see into fruition?
Yeah. So one of the things that I want to just speak to, because I think maybe this is going to the dark side of Nada, because I think everyone on the outside, and I hope you don't mind that we're just going a bit into that more kind of dark side, and because we all have it. That on the outside, it can seem that we got it all together, even before where you are today. Like you have a non-profit, like you have built schools for children and girls in Pakistan. You have lived. You studied in Hong Kong. You went to the US. You studied in Paris. You live in Norway. You got the dream of your life. You just went all in, and still there was a moment in your life where you realized, I need help. What was it that made you say, you know what, I need help?
I think it was realizing that I wasn't moving fast enough. That yes, I could get there on my own, but if you want to go faster, if you want to go further, you have to go together with somebody, and somebody who either has done it before or can help you on this journey. So I think just that realization, and I've always been good at building a network, and it's kind of realizing the power of that network and reaching out to people who would be more than happy to support you on your journey.
I so remember that. So I was curious because you don't know the questions I'm asking, and that was one of the things I had in my head. Remember you said that it's like a feeling like up against time. And this is also what we're diving in with today. We're talking about quantum leaps, and we're talking about how do we take that kind of annual or years, 3 years I'm going to be there, and actually collapse time and space so we achieve certain things over months instead of actually years. And in order to get there, there are things that we need to realize, and that is basically who is getting in our way and what are the challenges that we are faced with. And I want to just read something because it's not everybody who knows what is a quantum leap? I mean, we're talking about basic quantum physics here. So I want to read something down here. So it says, what is a quantum leap? A quantum leap is a sudden and significant change, an advance or increase in our growth, effectiveness, and results. It's the science behind technological breakthroughs such as lasers, space communication, computers, and nuclear energy. And one of my go-to authors on the topic, who is also a big finance guru, is Price Pritchett and his book U Squared. So if anyone is looking for a recommendation on something to read when it comes to this, which is very easy to get through, I recommend U Squared by Price Pritchett. So thinking about you now, going back to you, you have accomplished a lot of things, and you have embarked on a new journey. What was the mindset shift you had to where you went from whatever took you to where you were, which was successful back in, let's say, July, and to where you are today? What was the mindset shift?
It was realizing that up till this point, yes, I've achieved great success. And it's because of, my resilience and hard work, and continuing to have that growth mindset, and following all the rules that have been set from people before me, from the mentors and the advisors that I've gotten, and following this path, right? This culture of, just hard work, and you will achieve your goals. So I followed that formula, and yes, it worked. But I realized, I think, and thanks to the inspiration from you, and also reading this Quantum Leap book, U Squared, by Price Pritchett, that if you want to achieve the same thing, but in record time, you have to do things differently. You have to get creative. So yes, you can follow those rules and the formula of like hard work and putting in 60-hour weeks and everything. And you will get there eventually, maybe, likely. But what if there was another way that was quicker? And that's where you have to kind of reinvent your reality and start to reframe your mindset and think about, okay, what are the things that are actually holding me back from achieving this quicker? So if my goal is, I want to make $1 million or $10 million or $100 million, whatever your goal is, that you want that financial independence, or you want to build a business in which you are reaching 1,000 people or 1 million people and impacting their lives, whatever that goal is, especially when you're thinking about exponential growth, you cannot take that linear thinking with you of working sort of per hour and hoping that would give you the same result. So that's where you have to really bring in the creativity part. And that's where you have to really think about, okay, what are the kind of things that I could be doing different that could help me achieve my goal quicker? And you're not going to know exactly what to do, but that's where you try out a lot of different things. And that's where this feeling of trial and error comes in. You experiment and you risk failure, right? And it's the quantum leap. The quantum leap journey is that be okay with failure. You might fail big, but one of those things that you're risking failure on is going to lead you to your exponential growth, your exponential goal that you have. Yeah. So it's really that shift in mindset. So for me, thinking about, okay, how can I work per hour, consulting, trying to make money, $10 million, whatever my goal is. And then thinking, but what about if I create this really phenomenal podcast that then Spotify writes on and pays me $100 million, like they pay, I don't know, Joe Reagan or Brene Brown to do. Not saying that, that can happen for everybody, but just thinking differently and really stretching yourself and saying, like, what kind of bigger risks that can I take that would help me get there faster?
Now, one of the things that I know is that it's easy to talk about these things. Oh my goodness, we can talk and we can talk and we can talk.
Yeah.
And yet, it's so few people in the world that actually do that. And this is what I want to address today, because we can give the formula, actually, is shift your mindset, think, say, this is the best opportunity I've ever had, instead of saying, what if I fail? We can go into all these things and practically share how to do it. But let me ask you this. What has been the biggest change inside of you that have made you who you are today versus who you have been, and who shows up? I mean, even when we are doing this work, 5%, we really work to limit it to 5% to keep control over our thinking, but it very often is unfortunately 95%. But we allow in the work we're doing, is like, okay, 5%, we need to allow these voices to show up. But share with us, what is really standing in the way? What has stand in your way sometimes to take these quantum leaps?
Yeah. So especially now that I decided that I will step out of corporate and try to become and be an entrepreneur and achieve this through a different path that I had initially envisioned for myself, I am the only thing that can get in my way. I am the only thing that can get in my way, and it's your own fears, and realizing, what are these fears? So one of the exercises that I've done together with you is kind of just listing down, what are these fears? What am I really afraid of as I'm entering into this journey and really showing up as my most confident, impactful self who can actually be of value to others and be of service to others? And when I start listing those things down, I realize they're actually not very big fears. They're things like, they seem really big in your mind, and your subconscious really holds you back, and all the hormones, the adrenaline and the cortisol and everything kicks inside of you. So for example, one of the fears that I had written down was the fear of being in front of the client, trying to advise them or help them through their journey as an entrepreneur, and not having the answers, or just freezing because you just don't know, okay, what's the path forward for me to help them. And realizing that the likelihood, one, of that happening is very low, and that fear comes from me reliving an experience that perhaps happened to me as a kid, as a child, when I was in a classroom and a teacher asked me a question and I didn't have the answer, and I felt so embarrassed and humiliated and ashamed, and I really fear reliving that again. And so recognizing that it's all in your head again, and really the only fear I have is the judgment of people, of feeling shame, is really what's going to keep me from making from showing up and actually making the most amount of impact.
Yeah.
So then, in terms of the biggest shift I had, is really working with myself on these fears and realizing it's not the fear of me getting killed or eaten by a lion, or even the fear of not having enough money. It's not even that. It's the fear of being humiliated, of being judged by people.
I think that is just such a strong point. I just want to mention one of my own experiences that was very close to standing in my way for a quantum leap. And I just started on my journey. I just left corporate, and I've been used to being on stage. I've been a lot of stage work in connection with the medical work for my son Benjamin. And then one of the two things I said to myself in business was that I was going to be visible. That was a promise, and I was going to stand still. So I was stepping into the feminine of standing still, no hustle, no push. I was just going to be present with people, and I was going to be visible. So I kind of send this out, and this is it. Just hand me that. And then boom, the second day, I get an invitation to speak at a conference, be a keynote, where it was only female. So it was female CEOs and very senior executives, but they were all women. And I was like, oh my goodness, what just happened? I felt this, all the blood just dropped from my head. And I was like, and I couldn't understand what was happening. And I was so close to say, thank you, but no, thank you. I don't think I'm ready, or whatever it is. Luckily, that experience took me on a journey I did say yes. I just said, I'm going to say yes because I need to get curious about my own emotions here. What's going on? I realized that I had a real lived experience when I was 9 years old, where all my friends were older than me. So I was 9 and they were like 11, 12. And we were playing down at the playground. And one of the leader of the pack, tall, blonde, of course, much more adult, she said, why don't we have a party here at the playground? I remember running back home, putting on this fancy dress and running back in again. And they just looked at me and they were like, what are you doing here? And I said, well, are we going to have a party? And they basically said, you're just a baby. It's for us, us. And I had to leave. And that feeling of being humiliated, just like you shared as well, humiliated, small, who am I? I'm nobody. Does my voice matter? That was the words that came to me that became my sentence for so many years. My voice doesn't matter. So when I went through this, I knew that when I went on stage and I shared this with the audience, because I know we all have them. Every single one, every woman I work with, and men as well, but in particular women, have these very specific stories that we allowing the memory of our past, we allowing a 9-year-old make a decision if this now a 54-year-old, and then I was like 48 or 49, it's going to go on stage or not. I mean, so this is why I just wanted us to bring up this, that this is the one that's holding us back. I could have easily said no, but I did it. And some of my quantum leaps came from that decision in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes we think about, we often talk a lot about perfectionism when women trying to be perfect. And I think there's the one side of perfectionism we don't talk about is the shame and the humiliation side. And because most of the conversation has been led by perfectionism, I've always kind of been like, I'm not a perfectionist. I'm willing to try and fail. I'm willing to try and fail. But then there's this part of me, the shame part that keeps on showing up. It's just not letting people down, because as a girl, there's so many norms that you have to fit into. You have to be this nice girl, and everyone has to like you. Otherwise, people are very quick to throw labels at you. And you don't, as a young girl, I never wanted to be that mean girl, that bossy girl, that clever girl, that sneaky girl. I just wanted to be someone that everyone would like. And so, and that lives in me today. So anytime I do something where I'm like, oh, that person maybe doesn't have a good impression of me, it's really hard for me to let it go. And I realize as I'm going on this journey, there are going to be a lot of people who are not going to have a good impression of me, who are not going to agree with me. And I need to be willing to let that go and be okay with that, because my goal, my purpose is way bigger than that. And then trying to get everyone to like me.
Yeah, super powerful. And I just see Warren have a question here. Let me just see. I love that, not going fast enough. I can really resonate with that. Yes. And I, what, just to speak to that for a bit, I can say that there are so many women who sits with this feeling that there's just something, I don't know what it is, but I feel that I'm up against time. And it's not like, oh, time is going by. It's like, I have this urgent thing to do, but I don't know what it is, but there is an urgency. So if anyone listening having this feeling of urgency, act on it, talk about it, and get some help on that. So this is a question from Vorian again. Bumped into a fear you first didn't think you had, just because you're growing, so to speak? Like, have you discovered something you thought was just part of your natural being?
Yeah, I think, I realized that as I was listening to one of the podcasts where someone said one of their biggest values was security, just having that security and stability. And I always felt like, that I'm always okay being in this outside my comfort zone, challenging myself. So perhaps that isn't as important to me. But then I realized last year when I was in a job where I didn't have psychological security, where I did fear that if I don't perform, I was going to lose my job or my role, there were going to be repercussions. I wasn't going to get a good performance review at the end, or I wasn't going to get the promotion, or get that bonus. And so in some way, like, yeah, realizing that the basic of any team, any person, is having that psychological security where you're feeling that you're safe and that you're trusted. Like, that's at the foundation of the pyramid that you need to have. And so in some way, it's kind of, I talk about other fears, like fear of shame, and in kind of martial arts pyramid, they come kind of higher up when you've kind of have your basic needs met. But if you don't have that basic need of security met, that you are in some way, and this happens to a lot of people in corporate, and recently within the energy industry, where a lot of people have lost their jobs, or have, during the pandemic, had been on furlough. You can come from a place where you just living in fear because you could lose your job anytime. And if you don't perform and you don't do exactly like your employer is saying, like your boss is saying, you're going to lose your job. And that's where we enter this area of exploitation of the workforce, is because then employers can take advantage of that fear, that primal fear that people have. Right. And so I guess, to answer your question, it's really that primal fear of losing your job, or like having your life completely disrupted.
Yeah, that reminds me of the conversation, a group conversation, where it became very clear of the stood in the way for this particular woman was she had made corporate God. And when we say making corporate God, is that we think that everything else is unsafe. The only safe place is if I stay in corporate. And what we have experienced through many crises is that that can be a very unsafe place to be, because I just had a friend of mine, she's working in finance for 30 years. She received a text message 2 days ago. So literally just before the weekend, actually, that she lost her job and she didn't have to come back to the office. 30 years. So this is where I want always to invite people to think, you are bigger than your organization, you're bigger than your title. So when we started this question today about, who are you, we want to, and what are you doing, we want to become a bit more aware of how are we presenting ourselves, because we are not defined by the title we have from work. We're not defined by the company we're working for. We are ourselves. And when we step into ourselves and believe in ourselves, trust ourselves, only then are you really ready to take a quantum leap. That is a big thing. So if you think about what challenge is in your way, like what is still there when it comes to that constant, every day we wake up to new quantum leaps. So what is your biggest challenge?
Yeah, I think it comes back to what we spoke about earlier, is my own limiting beliefs, right? And what you said, like we can box ourselves very easily into defining success within corporate. That title, that success for me being, a VP, EVP, a CEO, whatever it is, that title. And it's kind of disrupting that and reinventing your reality in some ways. So if anything is coming in your way, it's sometimes these narratives that we have built for ourselves and what our destiny should be, or the boxes where we should fit in. And if you can just kind of remove those boundaries, remove those framings, and be able to see the bigger picture, especially when you're feeling stuck, right? You're feeling like you're not being accepted for who you are. You cannot show up as who you are. And a lot of women feel that. A lot of people of minority backgrounds feel that. A lot of people, even white men over 50, they feel that too, because the way our corporate environment is set up, it's all around conformity, and you have to be a certain way. Everything is going to be measured in a very standard way. And we forget that we are not robots, we're humans. And really what our biggest value is how we're able to think differently, and we have different talents and different skills that we bring to work.
Yeah, amazing. I'm just reading here. So Osan, it's resonated with Osan. You're meant to be yourself and not to please others. I mean, this is how we're moving forward, is when we're constantly out there expanding together with the energy that is always expanding and not keeping ourselves small inside the box. And Amy, I'm good to see you. So such an important insight. Self-trust as critical to quantum leaps. This is the thing, because a quantum leap is to trust that you can take the first step without knowing what's the next thing going to be. It is when you're just taking that leap. I think it's in this film Indiana Jones where he's taking this foot out and he's like, he has to trust that there is this bridge somewhere, but he doesn't see it. And it's that leap of faith. And when you trust yourself and you know your vision, when you know where you're going to, you know what you want, it's to keep your eyes focused on that and allow the how to show up for you as you move along. And every single day, take one step and trust that the how is going to be revealed. But in order to get there, we need to know, what is it that I really want to experience in my life? What do I want? What do I want? So for you, Nada, if you were to think about quantum leaps and your advices to the listeners, what advices do you have on this topic?
Yeah, so number one would be like, check on your fears, just list them down, write them down, and then do two things with it. So we're first, for each of the fear that you've written down, write down what's the worst case scenario, and you'll actually realize it's actually not that bad of a fear. And then second, like, flip that worst case scenario to what's the best case scenario. So sometimes we think like, what if I fail? Well, what if you don't fail? What if your business is able to achieve the immense success that you had not even imagined, right? Or what if you are able to climb that corporate ladder and get to the CEO position? So what if? But the thing is, if you don't take the risk, you're not going to either fail or get that immense success either. So what if you start believing in, because it's all invented in our heads anyways, right? Whether you're going to fail or not. So why not just start believing in that over the long time frame, as it is an infinite game, you will achieve your success.
Yeah.
And so, and another thing I will say, just going back to what you said, another advice would be, yeah, actually just sit back and let go of everything and ask yourself, what is it that I actually want in life? And I did not know this early on. Early on, I were able to create goals, but they were still very framed and limited in what I thought as was the next step for me. And so perhaps it cannot come to you very early either. And sorry, I live by the hospital here, so you'll hear sirens in the background. But so sometimes you're depending on where you are in your journey. I think early on I wouldn't have had this vision that I have now. So it's kind of the visions that I'm building on over time, the places that I've been to, what I've been able to do, that allow me also in some way to think bigger. But I would say, yeah, just think bigger, letting go of everything and all the narratives that you're telling yourself, all the assumptions you have about who you are, about the world, and ask yourself, like, in an ideal situation, if I could relive my life, what would I want to do? Where would I want to make the most impact? And once you can be very clear on that, and for me, it became clear that, yeah, actually now it's time for me to start making an impact as an investor, as a venture capitalist, actually providing funding and capital to the sort of companies that are going to drive change. And I didn't have this vision 2 years ago. It just became very clear to me in the past 6 months. And that's what I'm working towards now, is actually realizing this fund that's going to fund a lot of impactful women, people of minority backgrounds, and startups who are actually creating solutions that we need today.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And in the work that you're doing, so first of all, I want to know, how can people get in contact with you to also understand how can they get more access to your wisdom so they can be helped in their organizations and build their companies?
Yeah. So as I said, I didn't not say this, but I've just launched my company, Agile Leadership, and our mission is really to help startups, to help companies, medium, small size, even big corporates, achieve their ambitions through innovation, and I call it inclusive innovation. So what I am really good at is helping you really unleash the talent within your company, because you have all the best people most of the time in your company already, but how can you engage them? How can you include them in a way that you're getting that quantum leap as a company, as a business, and taking action on their ideas. So it's from idea to implementation. So helping you either setting up your innovation process or within your innovation journey, facilitating that process for you, being an advisor. Happy to also serve on boards for startups, because that's really where my passion is entrepreneurship and startups. I've been mentoring them for many years now. So if you would like some help from me, I am now available. I have more time and I would like to be a service. I would like to create value through you. So get in touch to me. The best way to get in touch is really LinkedIn. I'm quite active there, but you can also reach out to me through my email. You'll find that on my website, which is www.nadaahmed.com. Also, I've just launched our podcast called Braving Innovation, which is really about bringing brave and inspiring stories of entrepreneurs, innovators, and leaders who are really doing cutting edge things and bringing their ideas into execution, and just being brave enough to take that first action, right? Making that first move and taking that leap. So please tune in and get in touch with any feedback that you have and any advice that I can give you or any way I can support you. I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And I love that you such a strong delivery for those who are contacting you, and you know exactly where you're at, and you're also living in this world. Oh, let's be surprised, let's see what we can do, what can we create, because it is this strong belief system you have in possibilities and opportunities that you enlighten other people with. And I think that is what I want to share for everyone to listen. If you want to be enlightened, you go to Nada, because she knows how to enlighten you, and she knows how to challenge you in this beautiful way that you sit with. This like, wow, there is more to world than the books that I'm sitting in. So thank you so much, Nada. And what I want to say is that, as mentioned earlier, the enrollment for Next Level Purpose Mastermind opens today, and on Tuesday, 8 p.m., so next week, 1st of March, I'm going to invite into a conversation, like a masterclass, for whoever who's just curious to know more about what is this unique Next Level Purpose Mastermind, because it is seriously unique. And Anada has shared, the warrior has shared, Austin has shared already about their transformation. And if you sit with something inside of you where you feel, I don't know, I have this nudge for something, I don't know what it is, or just book a conversation with me and we might see if you're a fit into the mastermind, or maybe there is something else that we can support you with. So I'll share the link below. So that is next Tuesday. And next Tuesday, I still don't know who's going to show up at 12 o'clock, but it's in the planning. So again, thank you, Nada, so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure being here, Rita. Bye.
Bye.